Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Crypto Bull Ron here coming at you. Voice a lot better. Let me check my. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Okay, looks like people can hear me over there on X. So drop a little GM for good morning in the chat. Yeah, we had CPI come in exactly as expected. Let me get rid of this little picture-in-picture. My lighting's so bad in this office that I just don't care for it. Okay, so yeah, CPI came in exactly as anticipated. So interesting. Obviously, if we had come in high, I think people would have anticipated I think we would have dropped massively. If we came in under, I think we would have pumped up massively. We came in right at the middle at 3.4%, exactly as anticipated. So we're just kind of the same, more or less. I'll go in and we'll refresh this, wait for a few more people to come in here, and we'll talk about this. But yeah, basically exactly as anticipated. So what we have, first off, let's look at oil. I like to look at oil. Oil actually down. That's good because earlier oil was up over 0.5%. Now it's down. So that's good. That shows me that some of the stuff that's happening in the Middle East is at least maintaining status quo and not going up. 82.79. Remember, under previous kind of ceasefires, we were down to $68, $69. Recently, we're in the high 70s, mid 70s, and here we are. So, but at least we went down 0.5 point. The futures were looking like it was going to open up higher, so that's good. NASDAQ, NASDAQ up 0.68%. The Dow up 0.15, S&P up 0.3. So that shows you that the market, even though it's only been open for 6 minutes, is taking it well. Yeah, so the headline here is July inflation eased up despite recent energy shocks. So that's interesting. I don't know that it eased really, but at least it stayed the same. At least it came in at expectations. Looks like the TradFi market's taking it pretty good. STRC 95.43. So we see MicroStrategies slow play is getting back. We have a little news on that today. And Elon's SpaceX is up to 130, almost 137. Went a low of around 110, 111. So that's looking good. Up another 2.5% today. So SpaceX looking solid. We obviously looked at it because it was taking so much of the money out of crypto. So yeah, let's take a look over at crypto. Speaking of crypto. So Bitcoin let's let that refresh. Just slightly below the 64,000. We're at 63,908. Of course, we hit a high of 64,307 before the report. Hey, Scott. Great show today. Scott runs the 8:30 show for the Heine community over on Spaces, over on X, and it helps me out with the GM Bitcoin Morning Show co-hosting. So, yeah, and then we've been on course for the TBB, the Bitcoin Bull community. We've just run an almost wall-to-wall spaces, 3 or 4 spaces yesterday, in addition to our morning space where we talk about it. So, hey, Mr. Heine, the founder himself, happy hump day. Happy hump day to you as well. Yeah, just to recap for those that just joined us, CPI came in exactly as expected, 3.4. So traditional markets are taking it well. They're all up. Bitcoin down slightly, but not horribly. Obviously, it was pretty clear if inflation had gone up because of the effect it's going to have on the Fed. Fed has a dual mandate: unemployment and inflation, and employment, I should say, and inflation. Employment isn't looking that strong, so that could give them an argument to cut, right? And inflation, there's talk of originally there was quite a bit of talk about a rate hike, but that kind of started to wane when we saw the last jobs numbers, which weren't great. And so this became a very, very important CPI number, because it could throw the Fed either way. Kind of gives us an idea of what's going to happen in the September meeting. Came in exactly as expected, 3.4. So for Bitcoin, if it had to come in lower, I think we would have pumped up to the 70, 75 range. And if it had been really high, I think we would have gone down. But it came in right as expected. So it doesn't change much. I don't know how much the PPI tomorrow will matter. I'm sure it'll still have some significance. That's the producing, whereas today's the consumer price index. What we're paying is as consumers. Tomorrow's the which is the producer price index, which what manufacturers are paying. Now the relation is, if manufacturers are paying more, eventually that inflation makes its way to the consumer. So now maybe tomorrow is important, but today was very important. We came in right at expectations. Traditional market doing good. Crypto off a little, but not horrible. Bitcoin 63,951, down a quarter point. Ethereum 1904, actually up 1%. XRP, which is really, dropped below $1 for the first time in a long time. It's doing good. It's up almost 1%. It's sitting at $1.01 and 0.4 a penny. $1, 1.5 pennies basically, but that's up 0.9%. So really bad, drop last week or so for XRP. And it's maintaining that dollar is a real, psychologically as well as a real resistance level, without pulling up, the charts or anything. But it's a big deal, I think, to people. Solana 76.25. Of course, it got all the way to 77 earlier this morning, middle of the night, early before the price came out. But it's up 0.5% at 76.26. It's just been overall leading everything. Looking at Robinhood now, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have that much experience with Robinhood, but I am watching, and I'm seeing some plays run. I'm just not seeing any of them sustain. So, other than obviously Cash Cat, which is their big one, the biggest one, and it's obviously on the Robinhood app. So it's at 149.9. Basically down 3.7%. But that's in a whole different ball game. But the ones on the Robinhood chain, I'm seeing a lot of appreciation, but I'm not seeing them hold. Now, that's just me. I'm not following it real closely, but that's why I care about Cash Cat. Just kind of probably should find some others to monitor it. But I've played about 5. Haven't done too well on them, or like I said, they haven't held. And the ones I'm watching from people that I kind of put a little, trust in, the plays are up and down, kind of what we used to see in Solana. No one dared go to sleep on their bags. Ansem, 202 million, up down 3.6%, but up quite a bit, from where it was. Got up to 223 or so in the last couple of days. So maintaining our Bitcoin bull 15.5. So nice little rebound. It's up 11.02%. So holding well. And our friend Sikasa from his Jungle Bay NFT project, been around for about 5 years, 592. Lot of cross-pollination between the TBB and the Sikasa. A lot of guys, just Sikasa's been around in the trenches grinding, very positive guys. So yeah, not not bad. Kind of, you look at the chart there, there's the 4 hour kind of going sideways. TBB, are having bad Mondays. That was the Monday, last Monday. That was this Monday, dropping down. Heck, we dropped from, a 24 million all the way, cutting half down to 12. Now we're working our way back up, looking like we're close to 16 million. So anyway, still grinding, making stuff happen. Discord growing fast, just launched a Telegram, a lot of spaces. Back, like I say, yesterday there's 3 or 4 spaces. So that's good. Let's look at some of the news that's affecting things today. Out there, strategy CEO Feng Li says we'll be back to buying more Bitcoin throughout the course of the year. I think their approach, I should say, was effective. They're back around $95. They need $100. I'm sure they didn't like selling. They sold 3 times over $100 million worth. I'm sure they don't like that, but they also have like $4.7 billion, enough to pay their dividend for 2.7 years, and they're retiring some of that STRC. So got a little far over their skis and kind of backed off a little, but I think they've handled it well, and I think they're looking good. So I'm sure as soon as they get back to that par, they'll I think they just want to be less predictable, and here we have this possibility. See, he's wearing the signature Michael Saylor orange tie. Probably everyone there wears orange ties every day. I have to go buy me a nice Hermes orange tie or something next time I'm out shopping. Not that I wear suits that much these days. The U.S. regulator OCC allows Bitcoin and crypto firms to become national banks. So we're moving. Banks are doing more in crypto, and I don't know how many obstacles are. Sometimes this can be deceptive in governments because sometimes there's several agencies that need to give you the blessing and stuff. So, but more, I think we'll see the coming together. Crypto companies becoming banks and banks doing more and more in crypto. Just shows there's generally adoption, I guess, is a good thing. ARK Investments, Kathy Woods, she sees stablecoin and Bitcoin will be the 2 biggest beneficiaries of the coming boom in agentic commerce and payments. I don't know. I would say Solana too, because I think you need cheap transactions. So stable coins, they're also going to the layer ones, right? I would say Solana would be the biggest winner because they're fast and cheap, and maybe some of the beta plays, maybe Hyperliquid, maybe SUI. I don't know. Maybe XRP Ledger. I don't know, but I would say naturally, if the stable coins are going to be beneficiaries, so would be the layer ones as well. I know she's a big investor in USDC with Circle. Goldman Sachs buys options ETF specialist Neos Investments, looking to do global ETFs. I think I haven't looked into it that much, but this feels to me with the tokenization, putting it on the blockchain, going global, spreading out. I think that's why I think this gives them, there's a more opportunity for them to spread out globally and reach all these people. We talked yesterday about the 4 billion unbanked that don't have any kind of brokerage exposure can now do that. So I think that plays into that. U.S. banks are currently facing unrealized losses of $3.25 billion. That is up. We've got a guy, Hoff, 21 Millie Hoff, big time financial advisor in the real world, good entrepreneur. Used to come up and talk quite a bit, but it's right during his work hours, right? Our show. But anyway, he's been talking about be careful of the banks. Be careful of the banks. There's some hidden stuff there. We've got the consumer, credit card defaults high, auto loan defaults high, foreclosures, house defaults high. So anyway, be careful of this. This is why I think there's some underlying weakness in the economy that could blow up at some point. To me, just a reason to hold more hard assets, including Bitcoin. Scott says, our old friend Ankita lives. Green Man doing some streams on Pump Fund up 18% over the last 24 hours. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, our guy, of course, now with Inkita, with Nikita being fired, who knows? But I know Green Man's looking at some stuff. Been talking to him about some stuff. Maybe do. I don't know. He's got some ideas, but he was also in the hospital, nearly died, so hasn't been able to do anything. I'm still holding on mine. Obviously, when I buy something like that and tell people about it and push it, supporting Green Man, I didn't sell any of mine, so I'd love to see him. Maybe might launch a new token with an airdrop or something. I know there's some things happening. He's reached out to me for some help. I actually need to get on there and try and help him because now that he's back, so that's good. Good stuff, man. Great creator. Fortunately, had that brush with death. Got a really bad infection. So I'm glad he's better and out there and about. We'll have to see what we can do. But that's cool that the Ankita tokens are up too. I know he's talked about a few different things. So got to get on and see if I can help him out. But that's cool. Appreciate the update. Probably a good time for him to transition because Ankita being gone. But New York launched a probe into poly market and call sheet per the Wall Street Journal. New York's always the ones that are doing this kind of stuff, right? But this is going to be an interesting thing between the federal government, state governments, kind of like marijuana, right? It's legal in a lot of states, not legal on a might be opposite. So anyway, keep an eye on that. Definitely. And there's some countries, two or three states now have kind of banned them or suing them for being illegal gambling. I think there's, anyway, just an interesting thing to keep an eye on because it's becoming a major part of the economy and stuff like that. Obviously, we use it for the prediction markets, give us some good insight. There it is. Yeah, CPI 3.4. So that's as expected. So we'll go through the news. We'll check back on both markets. And Switzerland's central bank revealed 64 million in Bitcoin exposure through MSTR MicroStrategies. Like this, right? Like more and more buyers. The more spread out the buyers. I think that the concern or why some people you go as far as not even liking Michael Saylor, they don't like to see one person own so much. 840,000 shares. Like, I don't know what that is. 5% of the supply. Also, keep in mind that there's like 4 or 5 million lost, so it's even a bigger percentage than that. But anyway, this is good. I love to see different countries, different banks. You know what? I've never seen the Matterhorn. I've been to Switzerland 3 or 4 times. Never seen the Matterhorn in real life. I would like to do that. Grew up near Disneyland, so Matterhorn was the big, crazy ride back then. Nothing by today's standards. $7.8 trillion asset manager Fidelity files to add staking to its spot ETFs. So they could stake up to 100% of their $880 million worth of Ethereum. The fund would retain 85% rewards and pay investors in cash. I don't know if that means the fund will keep it or they're just going to let it accrue as interest and then pay some out. But yeah, I would think that they're just going to that'll just build, right? That'll be part of what builds the fund. But anyway, that would be smart of them to do that. Have $1 billion not earning any interest doesn't make sense. Maybe they're earning and keeping it right now. A Metaplanet transferred 4,176 Bitcoin, basically with the value of 265.3 million. When people transfer, it's usually a sign they're going to sell. As its 43,000 Bitcoin hold sits roughly 1.4 billion underwater. So they may have to sell. They may be following the lead. Just, all this gets settled for these guys. Trump, the Trump media, the MicroStrategies, all these companies, all the mining companies, everything changes for them once they get up. Bitcoin starts going back up. They don't have to play these games and whatnot. But anyway, they're under pressure. But it's the volatility. Amundi Investment Solutions, I don't know much about them, but they boosted their position 148. They now hold 1.32 million shares of Strategy. So once again, this is happening, right? It's happening. Let's go check back on everything before we wrap this up. So, I mean, the news of the day is CPI came in as expected. We're kind of about where we started, but would have been, not as good as we could have hoped for, but not as bad either. So we're right there in the middle, which is when you consider all of the extra pressure of the oil and energy and stuff like that. I think that's actually a pretty good outcome. Yeah, NASDAQ, oil still down about the same, down 0.5%. NASDAQ up 0.6, Dow up 0.9, S&P kind of sideways. We'll just go check on Bitcoin, see if Bitcoin doing any better here. Solana. Bitcoin, down a little bit, down, 63,873. So not much different, honestly, from where we were. I guess our shift focus is now to tomorrow's PPI, see if that beats, disappoints, or comes in for expectation. And maybe we don't really know anything, and maybe we just kind of go sideways. But question is there another big flush, or do we go up? Now, I would have told you had all these things that happened. Okay, we have MicroStrategies not buying, MicroStrategies literally selling, right? We had no real hope of a Fed cut. We had a big hack. All the so far the Clarity Act hasn't passed, right? All these things, I would have thought, if you had told me a month or two or three ago that all these things were going to happen, I would have said, yeah, Bitcoin goes below the 200-week moving average. We drop down into the 50s, maybe even the high 40s, but they haven't. So Bitcoin is showing some resilience, but we'll still see. We still could get a Clarity Act to pass. There was a report today that up to 10 Democrats look like they could vote for it. Probably not going to get a rate hike. I doubt we'll get a rate cut. Wouldn't say it's an impossibility, improbable, but I don't think we're getting a rate hike. Could still get the Clarity Act passing, so we still may have bottomed. But a lot of people think there'll be one more flush. We'll see. We'll watch it every day, but we'll check tomorrow with the PPI coming out. Probably same thing, hour before the market opens. But we'll be back tomorrow to see where it is. Other than that, I think we just kind of go here sideways, maybe bleed out a little bit. But and I think we continue to see Solana lead a little bit, and some playing around with some meme coins. So hey, do your thing. If not, get out, touch some grass. I don't think too much is going to change. I think September 15th. I think we got about a month to kind of go sideways. Could bleed out in that time for sure, depending on what happens, but there's not much happening kind of in the summer, maybe sideways-ish, but you never know in crypto. But thanks for joining me live. I appreciate it. Feel free to join Scott and I and some other people over on the GM Bitcoin Morning Show. We'll talk about stuff and get different perspectives, talk a little more about TBB. Oftentimes the founder, Jason Williams, will join us and say a few things. And we'll take a last look at TBB, see how it's on, see if we've got to 16,000. Yep, 16.2 million rather, not thousand. Anyway, great stuff. Thanks again for joining me. Have a great Wednesday, hump day, and we'll grind. We'll be back tomorrow. To PPI probably becomes a little more